Okay, Jet fans, Darrell Revis.
Is off the board.
The New York Jets select
Mekhi Becton, Louisville.
You fired up to be a New York Jet?
Pressure just makes you go a little more. I kind of like pressure a little bit.
The New York Jets select.
Welcome to another episode of NFL Draft Preview presented by Verizon with the Athletics' Dane Brugler. We're talking about the interior of the offensive line, and up top you have Elijah Vera-Tucker out of USC. Why is he your top-rated interior guy?
Yeah, if he's there at 23, I think you're feeling really good. If you're Joe Douglas and the Jets decision makers, that's an easy choice. Plug him in at guard. I think he's the top guard in this class. He put himself on the map in 2019 when he played left guard. This past year, he moves to left tackle, replaces Austin Jackson, who was a first-round pick of the Dolphins last year, and he played really well outside. Very coordinated in pass protection, stays patient. He's very under control with his pass sets, stays square to rushers. Came in with only 32-inch hands or 32-inch arms, which I think that right there it would make him tough. It would make it tough for him to survive the tackle. That's part of the reason why I think he's best inside at guard. But he looks like a plug-and-play starter, a guy that's going to play for a long time.
All right, so let's assume that Vera-Tucker is off the board when the Jets are on the clock at 23. Someone who might be available, Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. What makes him a good interior prospect, given that most of his starts actually come at tackle for the Wolverines?
Yeah, and there's a lot of split opinions on Mayfield around the league. Some think late first is a possibility. Others have early third-round grades on him. So there's a wide variance here. 6'5", 326 pounds. Like you mentioned, only played right tackle at Michigan. But with his size, his power, his average length, I think his skill set is much better inside. He can uproot defenders at contact. Love the way he'll drive in the run game, inline power, can collapse down so he can create that run room. Slide quickness is average, which is one of the reasons why I think a move inside would be best. So long-term, a really intriguing player can be a solid pro. Short-term, there'd be a learning curve. So there's a lot to like about Jalen Mayfield, but there's certainly split opinion throughout the league.
Another player in that 23-34 range, Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma, who has a decorated resume. He's played center for the Sooners, but do you think that he could play all three interior positions at the pro level?
He did at the Senior Bowl during practice, and he held his own. So I think that is certainly a fair projection. I think he's best at center, though. He's my top-ranked center in the class. Didn't allow a sack in 37 starts at center for Oklahoma. Strength, smarts. He tested much better than expected at his pro day. 5.08 40-yard dash, 7.50 3-cone. I don't know that we always see that on the field, but he's not a deficient athlete by any means. And above all, I think what you love him is he's a technician. The fact that you could probably kick him outside to guard as well, like he did the Senior Bowl, just another bullet to add to his resume as something that's really impressive about him. So he's an easy sell to make in a war room for a team that's looking for a starting center.
Dane, so the Jets have 2 third-round picks. Give us 2 third-round prospects that you think could make sense for the green and white.
Well, we just stay on the center conversation. Quinn Miner, who's my number 2 center in this draft. We've touched on him before, but anytime we get to talk about Division III player, let's do it again. 2-year starting guard at Division III, Wisconsin Whitewater. He was a borderline draft pick based off his junior film. Didn't have a 2020 season. Goes to the Senior Bowl and just dominates at center. I think he's going to be drafted somewhere in the top 70 picks. So you look at the Jets sitting there in that early third round, that could be a possible landing spot for him. 6'3", 320 pounds, 33-inch arms, really athletic player. Love the mentality, love the competitive drive, technique, the power, all above average. And really, did it show in Mobile. Just really impressive player who has helped himself more than anybody throughout this draft process. So, he might not even make it to the early third round. But if he does, I think he's someone that should be on the radar for the Jets. And then, you look at later in the third round, let's look at a guard, Trey Smith from Tennessee. A little bit of an enigma as a prospect because he's rare in terms of size, power, movement ability. 6'5.5", 321 pounds. Posted outstanding numbers in the agility drills at his pro day, 32 reps on the bench. but the senior tape was very up and down. For a player with that raw power, you expect to see displacement, point of attack movement, and you just don't see it on a consistent basis from him. High risk, high reward player because the talent is undeniable. Just a really interesting player who could be maybe in play at that pick number 86 for the Jets.
All right, let's wrap up the interior of the offensive line with a day 3 prospect that you think maybe deserves a little more attention.
Go with Royce Newman out of Ole Miss. He's one of those picks who he's not going to get talked about much on TV when he gets drafted. The TV networks, they're going to be talking about that flashy receiver who's 2 picks ahead of him. Meanwhile, Newman is just going to show up, provide immediate depth for a team, and he's going to play for the next 10 years as a mid-round pick. 6'5", 310 pounds, good length. He's always on time, which is what you love about him. Eyes, feet, movements, all on schedule. Not the most powerful guy, but he doesn't need to be because when his angles are on point, his body position, he's able to keep the pocket clean, seal run lanes, and maybe the best selling point for him with scouts, 4-position versatility. They say he can play center, right tackle, and either guard spot. So if you're looking for that offensive line depth prospect, Newman is the type of player that I'd be targeting somewhere early on day 3.
That's all we have here for NFL Draft Preview presented by Verizon with the Athletics' Dane Brugler. Dane, thanks a lot, and talk to you next week.
Can't wait. Thanks, Ethan.